Hey world, it is Erica LaFay back again for part 2 of my story. If you haven't seen part 1 of my story, it is in 2 segments. It's on YouTube. Please subscribe. Erica LaFay 1. That's where you go to subscribe. So I just want to get into this next video here, part 2. And I know we left off last time about I finally got out of that horrible situation, and I met my social worker, George Madison, and he helped me. He was trying to help me find a good foster home to live at. So I bounced around a lot in many foster homes until I did find a good fit. This foster home was located in Bridgeport, Michigan. And I met my foster parents, beautiful, beautiful people, Bob and Shirley Gilmore. Unfortunately, they passed away a while ago. They were just wonderful, loving people. I was very lucky to have them as my foster parents. I definitely tried to fit in, although I just always felt like an outsider. I never really fit in. And all the neighborhood kids made sure of that fact pretty much every day. So I hated with a passion walking home from school every day. See, in the morning and after school, I would walk across this huge, like I remember, just this never-ending golf course. And I'd have to walk straight across it to get to school. So coming home from school, I'd always get panic attacks, anxiety, because I knew what was waiting for me. All the neighborhood kids were just standing there waiting for me one day, and I was like, oh, well, this is cool, and I tried to say hello, and everyone just ignored me. And I started to walk towards the front door to the house, and suddenly they all turned around and started pelting me, just throwing crab apples. Now, you remember crab apples, right? Little, tiny little apples, and they're like hard, right? They were just throwing them at my head, my body. I was trying to block everything. It was crazy. And they were just laughing, all of them, big group, just throwing them at my head, whatever. This happened every day after school. I despised it. I despised coming home. I didn't say anything because I wasn't going to be a rat. I felt like I didn't want to say anything, so it went on like all the time. And some things got worse, such as these I remember four girls, they were like, I think a grade above me or maybe a couple grades above me. And I remember after school, they just liked to beat my ass. I don't know what it was, but every day I'm on the ground in a fetal position trying to block their kicks. I mean, they were kicking me in my head, in my body, all over. Basically in my head, mostly. So I remember I was only so tough. I was 4 against 1, so you do the math, right? It was pretty crazy, and every day they just want to beat my ass for no reason. I don't know. Maybe I was, like I said, I felt like an outsider. I was different. And then there were the days that they were all like riding their bicycles and they would chase me and I'd be running and they'd have their friends come over to like push me or they'd trip me and I fall on the ground and they would seriously, they would just roll or boop, boop, right over my body, over my head. They didn't care. They just ran over me. And honestly, I'm wondering if that's why I had some issues. I have like chronic neck issues from when I was a kid and stuff like that. I wonder if that's part of it, running over my head and my neck, everything. I don't know. But I was treated pretty horrible by the neighborhood kids. They made it very clear they did not want me there. So I mean, I hid all my injuries from my foster parents. You know, I was really good at that. Hiding stuff, you know. I didn't want them to know, but then it just, like I said, things kept escalating, things kept getting worse. So I decided to tell them one day. I reached my boiling point, you know. I had to tell them. So I did, and then once I did, the bullying stopped, you know. My panic attacks were not as often, you know, everything was kind of calming down, so that was nice. But I just had to. I had to tell them. You know, I was just done being beat up by life, by everybody. Like, stop, you know? So, I did have a glimmer of hope when my foster mom, she told me that there was a family, the Weiss family. They wanted to adopt me, possibly. They already had 2 sons of their own. They wanted to adopt a girl. So I was really, really excited, really happy. I was so hopeful, you know. I remember their home, beautiful home, lots of land. They showed me the beautiful, I remember this creek. It was so pretty, this water, and there was a humongous tree. And there was a rope hanging from it with a tire at the end, and all the kids would swing off of it into the creek. And I had to do it. It was so much fun. And their house was beautiful, and I was shown my room, and it was all purple because that's my favorite color. I love purple. And it was beautiful. And I was so excited, like, oh, yes, I have my own room, and this loving family wants to adopt me, and I was so excited. And, but of course, that came crashing down when the next day or so I was told that they decided not to adopt me. And I was really upset, you know. I had thought, oh, there's my chance to be part of a family. But I guess what I was told was, I guess that the older sibling and I were picking on the younger, like we were bullying, like we teamed up together and we're bullying the younger sibling. I don't know. That's what I was told. You know, everything happens for a reason. So I look at that now like I wasn't meant to be a Weiss. Erica Weiss? No. So that's okay. I was really upset though at the time. You know, the next year at the foster home, it seemed to last forever. I was about 9 at this time. I think I was almost 9, about 9, yeah. And I said to tell you this little thing, you know, like I said, every morning I'd walk across this huge golf course to school. And every morning I remember, you know, it was early in the morning, nobody's on the golf course, and there was always these birds. The birds would be lined up or just in the trees, and they'd be there just, you know, on the wires lined up, and I'd walk by and they would sing to me, you know. They would sing to me, and I'd sing back to them, and I used my imagination, you know, and I would pretend that they could actually understand what I was saying to them, and vice versa. So that kind of took me out of reality for a minute, you know, when I got to sing to the birds and they sang to me. So, you know, it made me feel special. So I remember one day coming home from school, and I went in the house, and I remember looking over, and I was like, who's that? Who's that strange woman in the living room talking to my foster mother? And I was then introduced to Gail Rose Gilman. And Gail Rose Gilman was interested in adopting me. I mean, oh, was this finally going to be it, you know? Stable. I needed stability. Was this finally going to be it? And, you know, I was 9 years old, Usually kids my age, they would stay in the system until they were 18. I mean, I was very lucky, especially, oh gosh, babies. Oh, babies were a hot commodity, for real, because I remember sleeping in a room and like all the babies they'd put in my room. So I got to be around the babies. It was really nice, but like they would be adopted so quick. They were gone. I mean, I they were just very popular. Kids my age usually stayed in the system. They never got adopted. So I felt so lucky. I had really lost hope, you know, and until that day, until I met Gail. And then everything was just felt right, She was so welcoming and loving, and I started to see more of her every week. She would pick me up, and I'd go to her townhouse complex, and which was in Northwest Saginaw. And she was just so awesome, I remember she tried to teach me how to crochet and knit. Stitch one, stitch two. I had no patience for it. I couldn't do it. But she would try to teach me. And another thing that was really important, she was Jewish. And she loved to teach me about the traditions that came along with the religion. I had no idea what Jewish was, I was in the foster home going to catechism and going to church. I just only recently found out my true, background. Like, I'm part Mexican. I'm 25% Native American, maybe more, which is cool. I mean, I was told back in the day something about maybe Cherokee. I might be, related to the Cherokee people. I don't know. It's very interesting. But like I said, I don't know, do most Mexican people, are they Catholic? Is that what it is? See, I don't know that too well, but all I know is I did go to catechism when I was in the foster home, and here was this beautiful, wonderful woman, who is showing me this totally new religion I had no idea about. So it was really cool. And I loved Friday nights because it was Shabbos, and we would have chicken dinners by candlelight. And she taught me the prayers in Hebrew for the wine and the bread. And let me see if I remember one. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei puri hagafen. Something like that. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel shah. Something like that. See, I don't remember. I'm going off the cuff here, so. But what I'm saying is, she was just amazing, and she showed me and taught me so much with the Jewish religion. And I remember one time before bed, she asked me how I would feel if she adopted me. And I was just so shocked and happy that anyone wanted me, on the real. I was a damaged child. Emotional, behavioral problems, and here was this human angel, and she was willing to take on all my issues and to love me no matter what. And she would never abandon me. And that's honestly something I never knew about. Abandonment, I knew nothing about that because my whole life, everybody I trusted, I thought loved me. Everybody I trusted just abandoned me. So I was just so extremely happy. And the first thing we did was we went to the courthouse. And we had to do a name change. So my birth name was Erica LaFay Fuller. And I was going to change my last name to Gilman. So the judge asked me if I wanted to change my middle name. And I thought, you know what? Why not? New life, new identity, new name. Now I still have Erica LaFay. That is my stage name. I still use that. That's my birth name. So I decided to change my middle name to Virginia. And the reason being, Virginia was the best foster sister I could ever have. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have been in a lot more trouble. And, she was just there for me when I needed to talk to her. She was a kind-hearted soul. She really did love me and she cared about me. So in her memory, in her honor, I just wanted to change my middle name to Virginia. So I became Erica Virginia Gilman. And it was awesome. I remember the judge asking me if I wanted Gail to be my legal guardian, my mother. And I was just like, yes, 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 yes. And I fought back tears of joy. I was so happy and relieved. Like, finally. So, a great memory. A great memory is our first concert she took me to as mother and daughter. And I was so happy. She took me to see Annie live on stage, and I was just mesmerized by this. And it was so inspiring, and to see that and to understand, like, wow, it's a story I could definitely relate to, and it gave me hope. So that was an awesome memory when we went to that concert. So I love talking about happy memories. Just want to say it's really, it's just a great feeling, to talk about the happy times with Gail. So when I tell you this other memory I have, this was awesome. So my mother took me to this huge storytelling festival. It was all the way in Jonesboro, Tennessee. And she wanted me to enter this contest, okay? I was like, no. I don't know how old it was. I might have been like 10, maybe at this time. But it was a storytelling festival. It was like a contest to, tell stories. And I was like, oh, no. But she wanted me to, and I didn't want to let her down, I wanted her to be proud of me. So I remember getting up on this podium and just looking out to the sea of people, endless people, and I was like, ah! And so we were allowed to tell the story of our own choosing. So I decided, I don't even remember what it was, but I decided to do it, and I sucked so bad. Oh my God. I was so bad. Horrible. I was freaking out. But anyway, I got through the story, and I remember everybody, clapped nice, like, yeah, we won't boo for you, but it's okay. And here's my mom. Stood up. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, that alone, I felt like a winner. That's right, because my mom was proud of me, because I got through it, and I did it. And that's what mattered, Man, that feeling was so great, I remember. Was awesome. And she was talking about storytelling. Wow. My mother was the best storyteller in the world. Like, she would say the first line of the story, you'd be like, what? She really pulled you in. So at night before bed, I was so excited to say this because I would beg her. I would beg her every night, Ma, tell me the story, please, please, please. And she knew it by heart. It was long, very long story. But she knew it by heart. And she was such a great storyteller, And and I had to tell you this because most people don't know this. But my mother became the head librarian for Detroit Public Library. Yes. My mother loved the city of Detroit. She absolutely loved it. And all the kids from school, after school, would come to see her. You know, they would do school field trips to come to the library just so my mother could tell them stories. Because that's how amazing she was at telling stories. And which leads me to my favorite story that she used to tell me at bedtime. And it's called Molly Whuppie and the Giant. Yes. It's an English fairy tale set in Scotland. And like I said, I begged her every night for this story, and she loved to tell me the story because she knew. It made me happy. And so I imagined I was in this fairy tale and used my smarts to fool the giants. I wanted to be the one to save the day. So I loved getting lost in that story. One thing I wanted to highlight about my mother, when she did adopt me, she was a single parent, a single female parent at that. I mean, this was back in the 1980s, you know. So it was a different time back then. It was harder for single parents, let alone a single female parent, to adopt a child. But she didn't let that stop her. She knew what she wanted, and she was going to get it. She had a stable full-time job as a librarian for the city of Saginaw back at that time. And she had full support of her friends and her colleagues. You know, my mother never thought, she never thought that she would have any kids of her own. Because her story was her mother died in childbirth, giving birth to her brother. Her brother was stillborn. So all her life, her father, my grandpa Sparky, he's passed. He was wonderful, such a wonderful man. He always put that fear into her mind, like, don't get pregnant, don't have kids, you know. He was afraid she was going to, you know, have the same fate as her mother. So she never had kids. So that's why she wanted to adopt a child, because she never thought she would have any of her own. So, I mean, she couldn't see the future now, could she? She didn't know. But my mom was a lucky woman. She eventually married her college sweetheart, which now is my father, Edward J. Frowine. And like, my mother never told me this story before. My father just told me this recently. It's just a cute little story. I just want to read what he wrote because I have to. Okay. So, like I said, she married my father. They were college sweethearts. And this is what my dad wrote, and I wanted to incorporate in the story. So let me read it to you. It's just a little something. He said, when I was in junior high and high school, I used to stop at a Sinclair gas station for pop and cigarettes. The man who ran the place was named Harry, and we got to know each other a bit. We used to admire the high school girls walking home after school, and he would say, there may be snow on the roof, but there's still fire in the furnace, concerning his admiration for the girls, or I may be old, but I'm not dead type of thing. Okay. Later, when I attended Western Michigan University, I became friends with John Schott and Gail Gilman while working on the same student literary magazine. They were a couple, but we all hung out together a lot. One weekend, Gail invited me to go with them to a get-together of her father and uncles at her Uncle Harry's house there in Kalamazoo. While Gail was introducing John and me to her father, I suddenly heard someone bellow, "Is that Ed Frowine I see?" I turned, and there was Harry from the gas station. His last name was Gilman, and he was Gail's uncle. So Gail later married John, but then they divorced. And when she and I were 41 years old, we got married. I mean, come on. If that's not a story of kismet, like, what? I'm just blown away. They were meant to be together. And just an awesome story. So I definitely had to put that in there. They truly loved each other, had a wonderful, happy marriage. And due to that wonderful, happy marriage, I have 2 siblings. My sister is Rebecca, and she just turned 30 years old. 30, whoo, making me old, girl. And my brother just turned 27. My sister is, I'm so proud of her. She is a marine biologist. She has her master's degree in marine biology, and she is currently teaching down south in Louisiana. My brother is amazing, talented, creative. He just graduated from Wayne State last year, December 2019, from film school. So watch out, Steven Spielberg. No, he truly is just so creative. I really am so proud of both of my siblings and so happy. So see, my mom, she didn't know the future. She didn't know. You know? What if she didn't know the future? You know, what, like I said, what if they had gotten married before she had, you know, met me? Then she probably wouldn't have adopted me because she would have had her own kids, you know? So it's funny how life works out, you know? And it's just amazing feeling to know that I am part of a truly loving and caring family. Anytime I was in a bind, my mom was there for me, my dad, you know, brother and sister, my whole family, you know. I was truly blessed and lucky, you know, definitely. And my mom had my back, you know. She had my back no matter what. And I just had to tell a little bit of this story real quick. Like, my mom was, don't mess with my mom. Like, you mess with my mom and her kids, you know. I had this horrible teacher in high school. I graduated from Berkeley High in '94. Go Bears! And I had this one teacher. He was so horrible. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to shout it out. It's all good. But he was an English teacher. And then I was on track. I threw shot put and discus. And I was definitely a brute. And I remember he was my English teacher, but he used to also sub as our throwing coach. And I remember one time I had to miss practice because it was so sad, man, so sad. Our dog, we had to put her down. We had to put her to sleep. She had kidney failure. So she was gone. And one day I had to miss practice. I couldn't be there. We had to put her down. So the next day in school, I'm in the cafeteria, lunchtime. And he comes up to me. Again, I'm not going to say his name. Try not to. He comes up to me in the cafeteria and he says, "Gilman, why weren't you at practice yesterday?" I said, "I'm sorry, coach, but we had to put my dog, we had to put my dog down. We had to put her to sleep." You know what he says to me? He starts laughing. He says, "Well, why don't you go wake her up?" Wow. Yeah, he went there, didn't he? Well, I was kind of shocked, and he just walked away laughing. He walked straight into the teacher's lounge. And, no students ever went in the teacher's lounge until me. Because at that point, I was tired. I was just tired. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care. I don't care who you were. I didn't care who you were. I felt like, who are you to talk to me this way over the loss of my pet, my best friend, So I guess my anger took over, and I followed him to the teacher's lounge. And I'm sure many teachers will remember this if you ask them today if they're still there, but a long time ago. So I walked in the teacher's lounge, opened the door, and I hollered, "Mr. blank, 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 I want to talk to you now." Yup, that's right. All the teachers' heads went, turned at me, and it was like so quiet. And he came out, and he talked to me, and I said, "I don't appreciate what you just said to me, and I will be telling my mother." He didn't care. So, went home, so upset. I told my mom what happened. Let me just tell you how gangster my mama was. She was gangster. Because my mom was so upset by what I told her and how that man made me feel. She wrote a letter. Yeah. Hand wrote a letter. Very, very long letter. Yes. Sent it to the school board. He was gone. He got transferred. You would think transferred out of the school, right? I believe he was transferred out of the state of Michigan because nobody wanted to hire him. Because you don't do that to kids. You don't do that to anybody. That's cruel and heartless. But my mom was like, "You ain't messing with my daughter." So she wrote that letter, and he was like, "Peace out." He went bye-bye. So that just stuck out to me, It was like she always had my back. She loved me so much. And I'll never forget her. And, sorry. She really was my hero. And she saved me from all of that abuse, all of that horrible, horrible stuff, horrible life. She saved me from all of that. And it just kills my heart because, I wish I could have saved her.